All right, good Tuesday morning, everybody. The Iceman here on the Iceman V2013 channel, the Jeffrey Rose YouTube channel. Um, I did watch all of Raw last night, and I really wasn't planning on watching the whole thing because I have to work this morning. But the opening segment sort of caught me. It was a little bit long, but this anonymous GM thing is just like going back in the past, and I never liked it in the past, and I don't like it now. Um, I think that the John Cena Seth Rollins bantering back and forth was a little bit too long, but it got to the point where they made their point, and of course it was the usual same guys in the main event. Um, Ryback, Cena, and Ziggler against um, Rollins, Kane, and Harper, and but that's okay. Um, it brought for an exciting main event, and we'll get to that in a moment. The show itself was above average. I thought it was an okay show. Um, there was a couple points in the show that I really wasn't too keen on. I thought the tag team matchup uh, was great until the Bunny and Adam Rose came in. It's gonna come down to the point where the Bunny's gonna turn on Adam Rose, or Adam Rose is gonna go after the Bunny, and then we're gonna find out who the Bunny actually really is. To me, I think that's a little silly. But anyway, it's entertainment. And as Vince said in the podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Austin mentioned about wrestling, and Vince returned his answer with, "This is wrestling entertainment. It's not basically wrestling. You have wrestling to mix in with it, but it's based around entertainment." So anyway, the show was okay. The main event I thought was great because you brought in the likes of the Big Show, Eric Rowan. Um, the the uh, the Steel Steps were involved. It was a fun main event to watch. Obviously, the general manager in the beginning of the show made a stipulation to TLC that it's going to be a match where whoever gets thrown through the table first is the winner, and the stipulation is if Cena loses, he loses his number one contendership for Brock Lesnar's WWE World Heavyweight Championship title. Now, my thoughts on that is I would add this stipulation as well that if Rollins loses, he loses his Money in the Bank briefcase contract. But they chose not to do that. So it leads me to believe possibly um, that Cena could win this match. Um, they did say if Cena lost, they would decide who the number one contender would be. Um, and in all fairness, who really would it be? Um, but we cannot forget that at Night of Champions, that Rollins curb stomped Brock Lesnar. So I don't think that's forgotten as well. And Paul Heyman, you know, in a video, stated that as fact that he rescinded his acceptance of Rollins' apology. Now, with all this being said, um, I don't think anything changes as far as a result goes if Cena does faces Brock Lesnar. Um, but this is just to get, you know, more interest involved in that upcoming match. Now, Lesnar was supposed to appear next week on the December 8th Raw. I've read that they pulled him from the show. Why not? And, Austin had made a remark to McMahon on the podcast as well. You know, where is your champion? Why is he not around? And McMahon answered, "What do you mean? Why is he not around? The more he's gone, it's better for us because he is quote unquote an attraction." Um, I don't know how I'd feel about that about Brock Lesnar because it states that you're an attraction and you're not the man that Paul Heyman builds you up to be as the biggest, baddest superstar in the WWE today. So it's just like you can compare him to Andre the Giant. He was an attraction. I mean, let's face it. So, um, questions were asked about CM Punk in that podcast. Vince answered them quite corporately, as we expected, um, but also said that he would not mind working with CM Punk down the road. So it was a pretty good podcast. They talked about a lot of things. They talked about the feud between McMahon and Stone Cold as well, and a bunch of other things. But it wasn't the type of podcast that everybody going into really thought could come out of, because you're not going to hear Vince McMahon badmouth CM Punk the way a lot of people thought he was going to do, because professionally, it's not ethical. And one could say that CM Punk, with the words he had for the WWE, weren't ethical as well. But those are the thoughts of a man um, beaten, bruised, and battered, and really knew that he was disliked by many people in the WWE, and most notably Stephanie and Triple H. And I think there was a lot of jealousy there amongst all three, as a matter of fact. But anyhow, moving on, uh, just I think the tables, ladders, and chairs pay per view in a few weeks will be an okay. I think that Rollins and Cena main eventing um, is a good idea, because really, who else could main event? I do have an inkling that Randy Orton will appear at this pay per view. Um, it would not surprise me, and I've said this, I thought it might happen at Survivor Series, that Orton comes out and RKO's both Cena and Orton after the fact. And if John Cena does lose to Rollins and Orton comes out and RKO's both of them, could this be the alignment that Randy Orton needs to face Brock Lesnar in a match that I've never seen before? I don't know if any of you have seen a Lesnar Randy Orton match before, because I know I haven't. Um, but we'll have to wait and see, what comes out on the top there. I just want to also mention, getting back to Raw, I talked about this a number of weeks ago about the push of Rusev. And I said this could only go so far, and it's already showing, because now we see Rusev and Jack Swagger getting back into it again. After he went through Swagger, he went through Henry, he went through the Big Show, and now, like I said, who else was there for him to go through unless it was John Cena? And John Cena probably will not lose to Rusev. Um, so they don't even consider doing this match as of this time. So who else do they have? And so now they're going back with Jack Swagger. And I think this is where the WWE, needs to look long term. When you have a gimmick like this, you need to line up the guys that, you could have in line and spread these feuds out, you know, a little bit longer to make them last until that point in time where you're going to have that, that peak of Rusev maybe come to an end, or maybe go over to the top. And maybe he will escalate sometime to the main event status. I don't think he's that type of guy yet. Because if the WWE doesn't think Ambrose, Rollins, or Reigns is ready to become a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, how could you even begin to think that Rusev would be ready? And then I also have to wonder too, how long does it take for you to decide that somebody like Seth Rollins is ready for a WWE World Title run? Um, he's been pushed very well. He's got that CM Punkish type attitude. I like Seth Rollins. I think he's going to be a very huge superstar, if not already in the WWE. And like I said before, the Ortons and the Cenas, they're not going to be around, forever. And it's just one thing that the WWE is fortunate about, that they still do have Orton and Cena to fall back on, whether people like it or not. Um, it's somewhere that they can go to that they know that they can at least salvage something out of their product. And John Cena and Randy Orton have done that for quite some time now. And I must admit, um, John Cena to this day can still put on a great promo, and also within the ring, he can still, you know, do what he has to do. I mean, when you're in the ring with a bunch of guys and you all really fit well together, everybody looks great. Eric Rowan looked great last night. Luke Harper looked great last night. I mean, Dolph Ziggler's been phenomenal, and I'm loving this push with Dolph Ziggler. Um, could he be the face of the WWE? Probably not. I just think because of his age, I'm not sure how old he is, but I think uh, someone to become the new face of the WWE has to come in fresh and, you know, really know what that role really is. There's rumors, Brock Lesnar's merchandise is selling and it's catching up with John Cena's, and I mean, I didn't even know Brock Lesnar had that much merchandise, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, the face of the WWE is nowhere near yet to be decided in the near future. It will come when the time is right. The WWE will know it. The fans will know it. And we still have, you know, a long way to go before we do come up with a new face of the WWE. So, all in all, again, recap, I thought, Raw was an okay show. I thought the main event was great. Um, and I will say this too in closing, the Bella twins, Nikki and Brie, it's almost like they nixed that resentment towards each other. It's almost like, well, everybody's forgotten about it. Well, I haven't forgotten about it, and that's one of the things that WWE does do. They'll start something and then they'll end it abruptly, and they think we all forget. Um, will Brie play a part in Nikki Bella's loss, whenever that is to be? Will Brie be the one to take the title away from Nikki Bella? These are questions, you know, I would like to get answers to. And also, I was surprised that I didn't see Paige last night on Raw. Sort of interesting, but we'll just have to wait and see. So anyway, this is the Iceman on this Tuesday. I hope everybody had a good Monday night, enjoyed their wrestling, and got to go to work. So we'll see y'all next time. Peace out, everybody.